Welcome, friends, to MJ Radio, the new iteration of the Melinda Joy Hour on YouTube, live and in person. I'm Melinda Joy Pattison, licensed mental health counselor here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm your host. And every time we do this, I have interesting guests. So when you tune in, you're going to hear interesting conversations with interesting people about interesting things. And the whole idea behind the show is about raising the collective consciousness. So you just never know what might come up. Today, I have my friend and colleague, Dan Best, returning to the show. He was on when we were doing radio back last year. And we talked about Dan's work as marriage and family therapy counselor. So today we may pick up that thread, talk a little bit about how COVID has affected the practice of this work for you, Dan. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And
thanks, it's great to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. And as I predicted, that cat is flying by. So when you see me do this, it's like the cat just flying by. It's what I love. One thing I love about this, how organic it is. Perfection is not part of the package. Thank God. It's a good thing.
That's right. Progress and not perfection, right?
Right. So it allows us the opportunity to just have a great conversation and share it with whoever might decide to tune in. So tell me how life has been for you over these months.
Well, interesting. Probably not as interesting as for many people because I'm working thanks to telehealth, which certainly
Thank
has
God.
its challenges, but it does enable people to continue seeing their therapist, and it does enable us to continue serving clients. I'm working from my front porch where I am now, which is nice, but it's much more challenging to do telemental health for clients as well, but particularly for therapists, at least for me.
Yeah, tell me how you're finding it challenging.
So the main feature is I can't feel people the way I feel people when I'm in person. We are talking heads, so we don't get to sort of see the body, but we also don't get to experience the presence of the person in the room. And so I find that challenging. I'm not sure how much clients notice that, but I sure notice that. The other piece is that I work with families and couples, right. And so so there's sort of a sitting down issue, and having a number of people on the screen at the one time and finding it more challenging to follow.
Is that usually how it happens? That your clients are all in one Zoom together,
sitting together on a couch or in chairs next to each other? Yeah.
They're not socially distancing.
Not from one another, not in the family. Yeah.
Right.
Well, however, one of the families working with a young man who goes to work, and his mother just came back from overseas, and they all wore masks because they're not living together, but they did have to sit relatively close together. So those are the challenges. There are now people I've met never in person, only online.
Right.
There are a lot of people seeking therapy these days. I've actually expanded my hours to take more people in, and as I think everybody has, because there's so much stress out there. People are experiencing so much stress, and it's coming at people in different ways. Right. I experience my own stress which I wouldn't say has been overwhelming at all, but just sort of a sense of the unknown, right? So
Uncertain times.
anyway, and I think clients also prefer to be in the room with you. Um, there's just something that's more beautiful that happens in person than does.
Oh, I do miss it. I
Yeah.
do miss that. I'm a hugger. You know that.
Uh-huh.
I'm a hugger. I want to, I want to be in space with. That's what I miss about this whole thing. Is
Yeah.
that kind of physical contact. But I have found my concept of how therapy can happen to be greatly expanded.
Mm-hmm.
I never had any intention or thought to do therapy like this,
Mm-hmm.
or on the phone, or texting, or I never had any thought that I wanted to do therapy that way, and I don't want to do it exclusively that way, going forward.
Yeah.
But certainly it's possible, and
Yeah.
as we learned at Southwestern College, any therapy is better than no therapy.
Right.
So if it has to be, thank God for the internet, just thank God for it.
Yeah, we could have done this a decade or two ago, certainly.
Mm-mm.
And you're right, I am constantly astonished that how work keeps happening.
Yeah.
And the one other challenge is I'm having to pay way closer attention than I normally do because there are audio disruptions, sometimes video disruptions, not being able to fully hear what people are saying. So it's more work also in that way. It's just not as relaxed. Again, I don't know if clients notice that or not. And they're doing their work. They're certainly quite grateful they get to continue in therapy. So that is the good news. The hope is would improve someday in terms of the technology, but I don't know if it's ever going to be able to supplant being in the room with someone. I don't think you're going to be able.
I hope not. Although I believe that I actually have some clients who may never return to in person.
Yeah.
And I say, I mean, I do have some who are coming back into the office now, but I have no expectations about that. I just say, it's entirely up to you how we do this. Therapy is largely about safety, so
right.
That's how it's going to be. It's whatever's going to work best for you. So yeah. And what are you seeing them come with? Like, it seems like people, some people just can't even catch a break. I mean, COVID would be enough.
Mm-hmm.
The social unrest would be enough. And then there's people with not only maybe in a divorce, but moving and out of a job, or seeing their job change drastically, having their kids home. You're seeing that, people having their kids home.
Yep.
What are people, what does that looking like?
Well, it's a pretty complex question. I would say the first way I would answer it is that stress causes regression in whatever way you typically regress. So what's happening is that people are more emotionally dysregulated, more depressed, certainly more anxious, whatever tends to be the direction they move in when they're not doing very well, that's the direction they're moving in. It's been really, really tough on kids, more than any other, and for obvious reasons. They're social animals. We're all social animals, but we're especially social when we're kids. And so the inability to see friends in the ways that they used to get together in any kind of groups. Some families are allowing their kids to get together with other kids if they feel safe and secure about the family. They're the ones having the most challenging time. However, for families with kids being at home, that's been good for just about everyone I work with. The kids also, of course, hate online school. It's bad enough you have to go to school, but they have to do it from home, right? To have school enter your house, your safe
Right?
space.
There's nowhere to hide.
It's really challenging. But the relationships between parents and children seem to actually have improved, and all of them, for the most part, as a generalization, seem to be preferring it, which is what you would
Wow.
expect.
Well, or
Even
hope.
in more challenging families.
Are you, so do you not, in your caseload, encounter domestic violence and things like that?
I don't actually have any domestic violence cases right now. And
But you
generally, I'm not doing a whole lot. Oh, in the past I have. I don't do a whole lot of work with domestic violence. Often, considerably after the fact, am I doing that kind of work, but not initially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Same
Well,
thing
it's
with
really,
addictions. I don't do a lot of work with addictions.
yeah,
More directly.
it's really, it's really good to hear you say this about the families you're working with, because we are, I mean, you know, you see statistics in the newspaper about the domestic violence rate is up and suicide is up and
yeah,
all the stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really encouraging.
I think in a lot of those
here.
cases, they're not in therapy, right? Those more active domestic violence scenarios, they're not in therapy.
Unfortunately. Right. So the point being, it's a good place to be in therapy with your family.
If you're having struggle, yeah, if you're having conflict, absolutely. Yeah.
I just say, you know, in general, I say, I think it's almost impossible to have too much support. And certainly in this time,
yeah,
can't be having too much support.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Right.
Yeah, all the antidotes we have to stress and so on, those are really good, and the more the merrier, right? Whatever you can implement right now, definitely.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, and so what are you doing? You're working more. So what are you doing for yourself? What are you doing for your own self-care, Mr. Dan?
So for me, I'm a bit unique in that I'm a bit of a hermit. So I am really content doing very little and being on my own, doing my own little practices, taking walks with the dogs, so for me, that's been okay. I am just lately beginning to feel like I'm missing connection. So it's taken me for a few months to get to the place where I'm feeling that. And I may seek that out. I don't know. I'm also pretty highly tolerant of stress, in the sense that, and this kind of stress, right? The stress where you really have no control over, it's like you just surrender to it. The stress where you feel like you have some control over, that can be sticky, because then you're trying to get control sometimes, where it's like better if you just didn't try.
Yeah.
Like with politicians and so on, right?
Oh, that.
Kind of thing, politics, that kind of thing. Like, is there nothing we can do to stop this from happening? And you feel like you have to be involved a little bit in that. Whereas this is just do what you can to, to let this thing go by. The more we do, the sooner, the more it would go by. I'm feeling, I think, like a lot of people, quite frustrated that we didn't have the leadership to say, no, let's just shut down for a couple of months, get this thing by, and then we can reopen. It's astonishing. Not that surprising, knowing human nature, but still astonishing that we did this like shutdown for months, and then there was this reopening, and some people not even wanting that shutdown, which now has created months and months and months and months of shutdown. So that piece is frustrating, that not a lot of strength of leadership. I think in our own state, we've been pretty lucky about that. We have pretty good.
Oh, I think so too. I
But
think so
nationally, we
too.
really need to be doing it all together. And
Right?
that the
Hmm.
opposite of that happened. And
Yeah.
big lesson for us all, hopefully, that we'll learn.
Hopefully,
Hopefully,
one would hope. Yes.
there's always hope.
And
Maybe.
are you hopeful with this news that we just got at the end of the week about the VP for Biden? Are
I
you
am.
hopeful about
It
that?
feels like a return to normal is what it feels like to me. This is what our country is, right? Our country is a mixing pot. It's not
Right?
a certain group of people being in charge of everything, totally misrunning it. If they were running it fine, fine. I think Jennifer Rubin wrote, I think it was she who wrote in the Washington Post, the ticket is the message, right? That,
Oh, that's well said. That's
yeah,
well said. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
felt a certain degree of hope and relief when the decision came out. I really appreciate the way, I mean, he picked the person he was probably going to pick, but he certainly did a lot of exploration. Sorry about all the flies. I'm outside in August. Uh, uh, still did a lot of exploring. But when she was chosen, just to watch the response and the way it's energized the African American community, it's like absolutely about time. The way that
Oh, it
Black
is.
women have
Right?
supported the Democratic Party, it's like about time, and it shouldn't even be a question at this point.
Right.
So I think it's just a wise choice, and it feels like this has been an aberration, and democratic norms have been stressed in a way that they haven't been since, I don't know, I'm only 50 some years old, so certainly the Civil War they were stressed. Have they been since maybe the 60s with the shooting at Kent State and things like that? But the sort of sense that let's just get back to reason. And my hope would be to just have this great big inclusion of everyone. And I think Biden is
Oh,
the right choice for that.
yeah.
Um,
It's
I think
just
he's the
one
right choice
last.
for that. With moderate Republicans as
Mhm.
well, with folks
Right.
who are just trying to
Absolutely.
solve problems and maybe have different ideas about solving problems. You get all the ideas on the table. Doesn't matter where they're coming from. You just go with the best idea. Why we
Wouldn't
have
that be
such trouble
something?
doing that is just,
Wouldn't that
again,
just be,
astonishing, not
wow?
surprising. Right?
Wouldn't that just be so reasonable? That would just
I
be
think
so reasonable.
so many of us are longing for that kind um, of unity, but not like single person unity. I mean, really, just the way democracy, which is really hard to do, works the best, where you have different people represented and throwing their ideas out, and the best ideas win, not
You
the
know,
people who are the richest or the most
right,
privileged or
right. Or the people
whatever,
who
all
spend
of
the
these
most
other,
money for advertising. You know,
right, right, yeah.
my dad was in the legislature here in New Mexico
Oh,
in the 60s and 70s, early 80s. And it was a time when people worked across the aisle is how they would
right,
term it. I mean, they
right,
worked together and
yeah,
there was a coalition and they got a lot of shit done.
yeah. Well,
Imagine.
that's how you do it. We've been polarized, and I think it's been the mission to polarize us. I think that's the
Oh,
other piece.
totally.
My understanding of human beings, I have friends from lots of different walks and political affiliations and ideologies, many of them, in my opinion, weak, but they may very well feel the same about mine. And I think we're all just sort of sick of being separated like we are
Oh,
as a
yeah.
public, and
Yes.
people finding the little
Yes.
areas where we disagree and exploiting those
Mhm.
for power is how I would say it. I'm talking about political parties and so on.
Sure.
and we just expecting better, saying, no, we really want people, we like your ideas, but we really want is to be able to work with other people. We send people who really just want to work, right? Not even the beliefs are as important as the desire to work together, and modeling that for the rest of us. And I think we're just tired of, somebody posted this on their Facebook page. I think it came out of a Catholic magazine. Tired of the outrage porn is what they called it.
The outrage porn?
Outrage porn.
Wow.
It's a great word for it. Getting stirred up for the sake of getting stirred up, because it's just a turn on to be stirred up. But
it's just feeding the chaos.
It feeds the chaos.
I think you're exactly right that that the chaos is very much an intentional behavior on the part of our leadership, current leadership. And the more it can be stirred, the more the pot can be stirred, the better. I don't get it. I don't like it, but it's absolutely what's happening.
So that's a hope for the change, hopefully coming our way, where this kind of stuff will be taken on. Just unreasonabness will be taken on. But that's probably wishful thinking.
Don't say that. We just had this. We just had all this hope. We just had all this hope, Dan.
Well, you gotta say, boy, human beings are amazing.
And they are, for sure.
In the way they can,
yes. Well, let's go from there to this question that I love to ask. I love to ask everybody this question, which is, what do you not miss from BC?
What do I not miss from?
Before COVID, BC.
Oh, what do I not miss?
Yeah, because I think this has been, while you're thinking about that. Yes, what you're happy is gone. Because I think this is a really great time for people to look at their life and say, I haven't missed that at all. I don't need to put it back.
Oh, I see. Boy, I don't think there's anything I don't miss. I'm curious. This is sort of getting back to what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
If we're not all getting along a little better, with one another. I just noticed myself, just the few moments I'm out and chiming in, just more patience and relaxedness, right? Just, we're all in this together. So I don't think that was particularly happening beforehand. But I'm curious if not more of that happens. Once we're through this, I don't think there's going to be like a moment we're through it. I think we will get through it in sort of stages. The sense that we've been through this thing together, we're all human beings, we're all Americans. And so maybe a certain kindness, but I also haven't seen that everywhere. I've also seen more anger and frustration. So I was pretty happy with my life before COVID. I'm not really terribly unhappy with my life during COVID. I expect I will really be happy once it's over, because I think we're going to be celebrating some, and I'm probably going to get out a lot more, because by then I'll really be missing it. Right? Take some trips probably, right? Summer's over. I haven't gone anywhere this summer. It's like the end of August. And it's, wow, I didn't even think about trying to go on a trip this summer. So when it's over, definitely something along those lines.
So that would be something you do miss, is being able to travel.
Yeah.
When you're ready to.
Yeah. I'm pretty content in general, though. So.
Yeah. It's great. I've said a number of times that my life really didn't change that much.
Yeah.
I'm privileged to do this work, which,
Yeah.
you know, really we didn't skip a beat in this
Yep.
in this field. We just have been
Yeah.
able to keep on right on going, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah, we went into
This fun
telehealth
part,
essentially overnight. I
right?
remember when we were closed down, and I'd had a couple people already started moving in that direction. And after that, I'd already handed out forms thinking we're going to be going in this direction, and then boom, there it was.
Right.
Seen a person in the office since end of March, so it
Yeah.
was smooth in that way.
Yes. Yes. And the radio, before I made the switch to YouTube, the radio was considered essential. So got to keep doing that. You know, my guests were via telephone. So, you know,
yeah.
I've just kept right on going. I miss going to the movie.
Yeah, there's something.
A
See, now you're going to start
lot.
reminding me of all the things I miss, and I'm going to come out completely different. Oh, see, I'm not even thinking of those things. I think that's part of it. It's like, why think of things you can't do when you can't do them, right? That's a surrender. Like, oh yeah, boy, do I miss me. Thanks.
Yeah. Movies. Oh, you're welcome. Happy to help.
Although I have actually ordered them. I'm on a hotspot, so I have limited bandwidth, and most of it's being used up for therapy. But I have been ordering. Like I just ordered Just Mercy, which is a fantastic movie.
Just Mercy.
Yeah.
Tell me,
yeah.
what is that?
It's about the guy who started the Equal Justice Initiative, for which I'm a monthly sponsor, and they actually have his story. This guy who has been advocating for folks on death row in jail who are innocent, particularly in the South. So it's a story of one of those men, particularly one of those men that he advocated for, who was set up right in the South. And anyway, someone recommended that movie, so I went ahead and bought it since there's no way I was going to see it. But yes, I missed.
Well, so is it a feature film or is it like a documentary?
It's a feature film. Yes, it's a feature film.
Okay, we'll have to add it to my list.
Within the last year or so.
Yeah.
And but who's going out to see feature films? You know,
right?
Movie theaters may not make it. Come to think of it.
I know that.
They already weren't doing that great. That's why they have to have 60 screens and all that. But
yeah, except here in Santa Fe, we're so lucky to have several theaters that do well. But
are doing well right now.
No. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think they're doing it all.
The kind of thing that would put them out of business, right?
It would be, yeah. So that's distressing to me. Yeah. But
seeing something on the big screen is still something, although those big screens have shrunk quite a bit over the years since I was a child.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, going to the movie was like the highlight of my, entire life.
Absolutely.
That was, I lived in the country. We didn't get to do that very often. And when we did, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Saw The Sound of Music twice in the same weekend. And that was like, oh my God, that was big. Yeah, because we went, and then on Sunday we ended up hanging out with a family that wanted to go, so we went again. That probably never happened in my life before or since, to see the same movie twice in a weekend.
I've seen two movies.
Or go to the movie twice.
Moulin Rouge, I saw twice. I was just so blown away. So blown away. Just a feast for the eyes. And then a movie called Waking Life, which is my favorite movie by Rick Linklater. I saw that three times in 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm gonna have to write down. I'm gonna have to put both of those on my list. I may text you later and say, "What were those movies?"
Okay, yeah, feel
I
free.
need them.
Feel free.
I need them. I keep that next Netflix queue going. It's like I'm never gonna run out of.
Oh, you really have to see Moulin Rouge on the big screen, though. I don't know how you ever get to see it. It's just an enormous movie, visual movie.
Right.
You'll see, and you see
Yeah.
it on the small screen, you miss so much.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll confess to you another of my movie habits is that even if I see it on the big screen, I'm still going to come home and watch it on Netflix with subtitles. Because I know I missed something. Even on the big screen, I know I missed something without the subtitles.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's good to watch them over and over again. Like Waking Life, what I thought it was about changed every time I saw the movie. I've seen it probably a dozen times now. And one of my best friends who's also seen it frequently, he and I have different ideas about what the movie's about, even after multiple viewings. He's wrong, I'm right. But the point is, I won't say what they are because I want you to get your own, or whoever's watching gets turned on by this, who cares to listen to me about movies, but who gets inspired to watch it. I want you to have your own experience of it before having any. And anybody I suggest is that you have to watch it 2 or 3 times before we even start talking about it, because I don't want to influence you at all. Because I just love that it's such a powerful movie. You find new things in it all the time. It's very, very rich, full of information, but the information isn't the point. Something else is the point, or something else is. And you can have such different ideas about the movie.
So what is it? What would you say is the genre? That wouldn't be giving anything away.
There's no genre. It's a
for
genre
Waking
all
Life,
its own.
no
This
genre.
is Rick Linklater, right? Who's the most brilliant director. Dazed and Confused is probably his most famous. He did the Beyond Sunset trilogy. Before Sunset, Beyond, whatever they are. Before Sunrise was the first one. Anyway, it's a trilogy, absolutely brilliant. He did Boyhood, where he filmed for 12 years with this little kid growing up into adulthood. Scanner Darkly. This is my favorite of his, and it's live action animation. So they filmed it live action, and then they had these different animators animate it. So it's also quite interesting in that way, and just a visual way of how the animators view what is being spoken and so on. But it's about this guy stuck in a very odd world and not quite being able to figure out what's happening. A lot's not making sense. And why that is, again, depends on your own interpretation.
Okay. Well, I look forward to it.
He's never said it. And what he has said about it, I think he's wrong. I think he filmed something he didn't even fully understand. I'm sure.
Oh, but that's so
I'm not
intriguing.
more right than Rick Linklater, but I bet he would love to have people having their own views that are different from his.
Oh, I bet he would. I bet he would. Yeah, I bet he would. Well, see how this went. We started with the work. We ended up on talking about movies. This is exactly what I'm after. It's so much fun.
Here's the link. Here's the link, MJ. Existential. That's the genre of
the genre. Okay.
Existential. So that ties us all in here.
It does. It ties it all in. I just think it's, the free flow of conversation. We've touched on politics. We very amicably and I don't think there's anybody who could be offended by anything that may have been said. It's just a general conversation about philosophies and ideas, and it's just the kind of conversation I love. So
yes, me too. Hopefully it's interesting as well. That's the question.
Yes. Well, I think it has been, and I'm really just delighted that you could do this with me, and perhaps we will again on another
Anytime,
occasion.
MJ. You want to
That would be
ramble on.
great. So I'm gonna wrap this up because I know you told me you have to go.
Yeah,
So
at work today.
right, another working day. So
Another working
friends
day.
listening, watching, thank you for being here with us today. Again, when you tune in to MJ Radio, you're going to hear interesting conversations with interesting people about interesting things. I'm your host, Melinda Joy Pattison, licensed mental health counselor, and we'll see you next time.